Welcome to today's video. I do want to talk about why less is really more when we talk about minimalism. I do want to talk about space versus things, possibilities versus things, and I think it's a really interesting topic. We should all give some thought if we want to live a minimalist lifestyle, so let's dive right into it. After practicing minimalism for over 6 years, I think it's very clear to me that less is more in so many areas, but still to this day I'm learning more and discovering more, and also seeing how I sometimes still fail. I think we can all agree that we live in a very consumerist society, and that advertisement and other people and we tell ourselves that we need a bunch of stuff, and that for every problem we have, there's a service or an item that can solve it. And if you are not happy, there's an item that can bring you happiness. That's at least what we are made believe. And I do think that many things, many items can make our lives better. I would not say that I want that like the less you have, the better. But it's definitely also not the case that the more you have, the better. And I think something that's even not talked enough about when it comes to minimalism is how less is more, not when it comes to physical items, but when it comes to time and stress and things like that. Because I think nowadays we kind of just put so much in our lives, hoping that our lives would be more fulfilling and more rewarding, and we would be more successful and more happy. The more we do, the more we accomplish. But on the other hand, what happens is that there is no space left. Our calendars are so full with work and free times, activity and friends and family and hobbies and things we think we need to do, that sometimes we kind of lose the overview and we actually don't live a happy life, even though we are using our time to the maximum of its capacity. But I don't think that that's the answer. And here I want to also talk about why I think less is more. I also made a video about why I think it's important to sometimes do nothing, to waste time. I'm going to link that up here for you too, because I think it's very interesting talking about this subject. But the problem that comes with stuffing our time with things we need to do, things we want to do, things we think we need to do, is that in the end we end up just reacting to our lives. We are not able to have time and then decide what we want to do with it, but we are reacting to past decisions. We are reacting to past purchases in a sense that we need to clean the stuff we own, take care of the stuff we own. We react to our past purchases and to our lifestyle costs in a sense that we need to work more or work a lot to pay off houses, pay off things, be able to make enough money to sustain a lifestyle that's expensive. And I think that is where all the freedom we think we can gain through buying expensive stuff and living a successful life just goes down the drain. There's nothing good coming from a life that's lived just in reacting to your past decisions, to your stuff that you bought, to your costs, to your, surrounding that tells you what to do. What I think we need in order to live a happy life is space, and space in many, many ways. The first one I just talked about is space when it comes to time, to maybe take a nap if we did not get enough sleep, to take care of the things that come unexpectedly, to do something just because we feel like we're doing it, time to think, time to relax, time to, whatever you want to use your time for. The other one is, of course, space when it comes to actual physical space. And here that's something I've talked about in a video where I shared my lessons and beliefs when it comes to learning to have enough and not wanting to shop and more and more and more. And I'm going to link that up here as well. And that's that we often believe that the more things we have, the better, the more we have. But I think we have less if we have more things, because what we lose is space. Would you rather have the space, the possibilities, the flexibility of space, or would you rather have everything filled with stuff that you can just use for one thing? Because with more space, you can rearrange your furniture, you have space to move, you can have maybe more people over, you can just reimagine your space, you have less things to clean, you just, I think space is really important. Another kind of space I think we need, and that's often lost, is like psychological, like mind space. And here, that of course especially also has to do with time and also with how we live. And I think minimalism is great at making it possible to give us more like mind space, because there are decisions we don't need to make every single day, because we already know what our habits and routines are. If we have only 40 items of clothing instead of 200, it takes up a lot of less mind space to decide on an outfit for the day. And in general, if we just have less options, and there I do not want to take away the options that are good, but the options that are always like second and third choice, we can just take those away and we will save so much like mind space, because we don't need to make the decision, we don't need to care for these items, and have more space, physical space, mind space. And then the last one that I just came up with, maybe there are more, let me know down below in the comments, is also money. If we have less things, purchase less things, consume less, we usually have more money, and more money means more flexibility. Now, money is complicated because a few people on our planet have a lot of it, way more than I need, and a lot of us have way less than we need. So I do not want to tell you that minimalism could be the solution to all of your money problems, but in general, if it's possible for us to spend less, to consume less, we have more money. And more money means more flexibility, less anxiety, and just, more possibilities to choose and to live intentionally. Now, I don't believe that money is the solution for like living a happy life, but I definitely believe that not being in poverty or not struggling financially can be such a huge thing when it comes to, relieving anxiety and living a content life. So less is really more in our lives, in the sense of we usually do not gain anything from stuffing our lives. No matter if we are talking about appointments in our calendars or physical items in our apartments, decisions that we need to make again and again and again because we don't have priorities set for our lives that we know we like and we can just follow. And all of these things just open up space. And space for me really equals possibilities and flexibility and the ability to not just react to your life, but to actually create it intentionally, make decisions that will make you happy instead of just doing what you need to do because you are in circumstances where there's just one way, again, to react and not to create and make a decision for yourself in the direction you want to go into. But the other side of less is more is not just the space that's freed up by removing the things that are not important, but that the things we have can be more important. And no matter if you mean like less but better, so you can invest more into things that are better financially, or that you can like invest more time in a hobby that's really precious to you instead of like maintaining 10 hobbies but not having time for anything. But also just the way we think and feel about things can become a lot deeper. So maybe less friendships, or just a few very meaningful friendships instead of trying to be in contact with 200 people that do not mean that much to us, can mean that we can have deeper relationships, that for us in the end we actually gain more. And the same goes for the other person on the other side, because we can actually give the other person our attention, our thoughts, we can make time and effort for this relationship. When it comes to things, we can more intentionally choose what we want to have, and then have clothes and appliances and maybe an apartment or a house that really is the thing we want to have. I don't believe that there are perfect things in most cases, but then we might be able to find something that's like 95% perfect. And I think that makes a better life than having 3 or 4 things that are all kind of like 60% perfect, but so they all lack a bunch of things that we need from them. So in general, I think less is more is just making good priorities. And priorities sometimes sound like we have to leave out things that are important to us. But actually, I think that most of us can get our lives down to a few things in each area that are really important to us without feeling like we have to give up on things that we don't want to give up on, because we can get much more fulfillment from doing something with a lot of energy, with all of our dedication, than spreading ourselves too thin and trying to maintain 15 different things in one area. So I think it's very valuable to make these priorities, to live intentionally and actually choose the life we want to live. Choose the things that are actually important to us, invest our resources and energy into these things, and trying to leave out all the things that we feel indifferent about or that we don't like doing. While of course it's still never possible to leave out things we don't like doing completely. But what I also want to say, and that's very important too, there is a point where less is just less. If we talk about poverty, for example, if we really, really lack basic things, then less is just less. There's no glory in living without things we actually need. So I think we should always keep that in mind. And the other thing I want to say here is regarding extreme minimalism. So less is more in many ways, and I think we can gain so much from focusing on a few things instead of like losing focus in the ocean of stuff we have that's kind of meaningless to us. But extreme minimalism at a certain point also does not mean or equal less is more anymore, in my opinion. And that is because imagine an empty room, and I said before that if you have more space, you maybe have more space to have friends over, but if your room is really empty, with like maybe not even a mattress because you sleep on the floor, then you also do not really have the resources to have friends over to eat dinner together or things like that. And the same goes for daily routines and things. If you get rid of all of your stuff, certain things actually really become more complicated. I don't know if it's good for your dental hygiene if you get rid of your toothbrush, and not having that one item will maybe cost you so much pain and money in the future if your teeth rot. So that's just two like simple examples to show you that stuff is valuable, and consumption and connection and money, and we do want to have certain things, and I think certain things are valuable and actually make our lives better. So what I think is the most important to do is finding the right balance. And yes, most of us at the moment in our society have too much stuff, have too much meaningless stuff, have not enough focus, not enough priorities, and just a bunch of random things we're consuming that take up our energy and time and space that is not used in the best way. But on the other hand, I don't think the solution is that we all become extreme minimalists. I think it's about finding balance when it comes to stuff, when it comes to things we do, relationships, all of the things I've talked about. And now I also want to share the one thing I still struggle with. And I think that is like media consumption. I've talked about that like 2 years ago or something, but sometimes I still consume too much and do not have enough space when it comes to like my mind. I think that's really the one thing where I think I have a lot to learn still, because I sometimes realize that there's no space when it comes to time or when it comes to thoughts. And that leads to me not being creative, feeling anxious, and not feeling happy, like just feeling caught up in like a TV show I'm consuming, procrastinating, problems I have to solve, but then at the end of the day, I cannot fall asleep, or I don't have any video ideas anymore to film just because I'm so caught up in consumption that I do not have enough space to just think and let creativity and thoughts flow naturally. So that is something I really want to work on. And I have better like better times and worse times. So, you know, it's not like a huge problem, but it's something that still doesn't satisfy me. So now I would be really interested in knowing what is your hardest challenge when it comes to like freeing up space and really living the less is more philosophy when it comes to intentional living or minimalism. And now I will link you a video right here about 5 minimalist habits that can avoid stress and buy you more time. So I think it has a lot to do with this video, but it's more like specific, so that will help, and I hope to see you right there. Bye!